Hello everyone, welcome to 2026. As far as I'm concerned, it officially gets underway now because the Ferrari Challenge roars back into life. Welcome to round one of Ferrari Challenge Europe. Here in the south of France, we come to the Paul Ricard circuit, and here it is in all its glory. It's a fantastic calendar this year for our season. And this is where we will be going then. From here we head to Mugello, then it's Spielberg in Austria, Le Mans where we support the 24-hour race, Portimao in Portugal, Budapest and Barcelona will be the scene of round 7 and also the finale Mondiale event. What a fantastic, fantastic season we have, which is more than could be said for the weather here, where the track temperature is minus 999 degrees C. It's actually not very nice, it has to be said. We had torrential rain earlier this morning, and also visibility was a real problem, but as you can see from that fantastic shot, visibility now is not so much of a problem. Everything is looking good. As indeed is my colleague alongside me here, Nico Spalak, who I'll introduce in just a moment. Right now we're taking a look at the Circuit Paul Ricard. 5.842 kilometers, 15 turns, 6 left, 9 right. The circuit was built back in 1969, and the first race was held in 1970, and we are around 50 kilometers, I guess, from Marseille itself. It's an interesting circuit and one the drivers love. Nico, good morning, welcome back. Great to have you alongside me again for broadcast.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Ferrari Challenge Europe and our Copper Shell competitors, Copper Shell AM and Copper Shell. They were split into separate races for the last couple of years, and we bring them back together into one qualifying session and onto one grid later on. Lots of drivers and all those names and liveries, and we will go through them over the course of this quali session and the remainder of the season. But I think great welcoming returning drivers as well as some new drivers in the championship. So gonna be a really, really interesting first session.
I agree with you, and it's we've spent our time doing our research in terms of new liveries, new drivers, etc. But it's not until the cars are actually out there on the track that you really get used to how those wonderful challenge cars look. There's Paolo Scudieri, a returning driver. We have returning drivers, we have new drivers. The competition will be red hot as always, as we mix up Shell AM and Shell together, which means when it comes to the race, we're going to have 25 cars on the grid. It's going to be absolutely awesome. This man from Penske Sportwagen Hamburg, Sven Schirmer, promoted to Copper Shell because he won the Copper Shell AM Championship last year. It was a real nip and tuck championship between himself and Jan Sandman. I'm delighted to say that both those drivers are back competing once again. And it's good to see Tibor Valent back. And Tibor's son, Benz, who is a young racing driver, also having raced in the Ferrari Challenge, is here this weekend, supporting his father, Tibor Valent, who is a long-term and long-time campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge and has raced in it for a number of years. Then he takes a break, then he comes back, and it's been a bit of a sustained effort recently. I think this might be his 3rd year since his return, Nico.
Yes, indeed. And Tibor, as you said, been a part of the Ferrari family for a very, very long time. He was actually racing when we both got involved in the championship, and we're not going to go into the numbers of years, but it's been a few days ago. Charles Chan in final stages of preparation, as we're about 30 seconds away from getting this session and the season underway.
Right at the head of the queue is the 140 car driven by Pino Frascaro for Nicky Hasler AG and DNC Racing. And we saw Pino and Mrs. Pino last night at our hotel. There's Shintaro Akatsu. Lots of love to you, Shintaro. Welcome back once again, Shintaro Akatsu, for the Ineco Ripardo Corsa Ram team. Loves his racing, looking forward to getting back out there on track. There once again is the Paolo Scudieri car as we get the green flag to get qualifying underway. 30 minutes the drivers have, and this will set the grid for race 1 to come, race 1 of the season, in fact. And the conditions are, it is a wet track, Nico. Kelsey Breeze.
Yeah, and especially these first few minutes when all the standing water from the heavy rainfall that was there, especially this morning, you see all the puddles, so that water first needs to get dissipated and thrown to the side, and then I'm not going to say it's going to be dry because we still expect more drizzles. And that is an ambitious approach to this qualifying session. There's very little to be gained on this stage, but
it's a resumption of the battle from last year between Jan Sandman and Sven Schirmer in qualifying, Nico. Brilliant.
On an outlap. Well, if that is anything to go by, this is going to be an amazing season once again. I'm sure it will be. And Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman, even though they were just elevated from the Shell Am category into the Shell category, I think everybody pretty much expects them to figure as well. And yeah, visibility, something of an issue already. Although, as you said, an hour and a half ago, it looked much worse.
Whoa, way to go, Sven Schirmer. He's certainly outbraked Jan Sandman there, and here comes Jan Sandman coming back. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to qualifying. It isn't a race, it is qualifying. But these Ferrari Challenge competitors, now, dare I say it, the reason Sven Schirmer wants to be ahead of Jan Sandman in qualifying is it means he's going to have the best visibility available to him. That, and they're just competitive racing drivers, Nico, and they want to enjoy their time out there on track. They're great, both awesome competitors, and as you saw in the opening graphics to our program, 6 championships in the Ferrari Challengers. We are revered around the world for bringing this fantastic race action to you. And Jan Sandman and Sven Schirmer are 2 of the protagonists, may I say.
Very, very lively, very, very likable characters, and very, very good drivers at that. One of the reasons that they are pushing very early in this session is that there is a very high chance that the rain is going to restart or re-intensify, because otherwise you would think, okay, it's a wet track, it's going to dry out, it's going to get quicker towards the end.
Yeah.
Not necessarily so. So you really have to find the sweet spot, and it is with a little bit of a gamble included, because you don't know when exactly rain might come again. So that is one of the reasons why they're not just biding their time and waiting for the track to dry out and come to them.
See, you always are able to bring us the information that I failed to do. There's always a rationale and a reason, and there we have it. Explained by the Oracle alongside me, and that's the reason he is there. Gives us the facts, as it were. So with the outlap done, let's run the clock on these drivers. Was that lapped? Was that lapped? Fair.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was really an outlap, but it was on paper anyway.
Yes. Here we go with Schirmer and Sandman, as was the case for much of last year in Castellet, running together and almost 10th by 10th, occupying similar time frames. And Sector 1 is, well, both Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman very, very quick. We will get some meaningful times up on the screen shortly. We're about 4 minutes into our qualifying session then for our Castellet drivers. Wherever you're watching this, welcome, a warm welcome to you as the Ferrari Challenge resumes. When I say resumes, it kicks off another fantastic year here in 2026. With 2 drivers elevated from Castellet to Castellet, and they are the drivers we're watching here, Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman. Schirmer then, who has got the visibility advantage perhaps over Jan Sandman. And both of these drivers with the times having done Sector 1 and Sector 2, you can see that Schirmer was quickest through Sector 2, Jan Sandman quickest through Sector 1. And we will see when they round out the lap after this last sequence of turns to see who will be going to the top of the timing chart. And bear in mind, very, very wet conditions at the moment. When we came up into our studio, it had the rain had abated, but the standing water on the track is still there, which is making visibility something of a compromise, and lots of puddles, as you can see. So, round the final turn, heading towards the timing beam now, and let's see whether it's going to be Schirmer or Sandman who is going to be at the top of the chart. It's going to be very close between the 2 of them, and it is actually Sandman by 0.7 of a second over Sven Schirmer. So that's really interesting. And in replay here, this is Sven Schirmer. Now, did he lose a bit of time here? No. And there is Jan Sandman. So currently it is Sandman besting Sven Schirmer, and around has gone Pino Frascaro. Now Pino in the 140 car, having gone around driving in the Shell Am category. And that's where you can really see how the visibility, unless you're the leading car there, is very difficult for the drivers following. Now the best of the Shell Am drivers is Jean Rieu for Castellet Racing, ahead of Dr. Stephen Earle and Ivan David Mari, and then it's Fritz Muller in terms of the Shell Am drivers. For the Shell drivers, it's Sandman, Schirmer, and then it's Skeltermar, who is P3, though he has just been bested by a driver I want to big up on his return, Nico, and that is Eric Chung. Great to see Eric Chung and Corinna Chung, his wife, back in the paddock once again. And Eric Chung, always a competitive racing driver, and he's placed the car P3 in Shell already.
Indeed, Eric Chung, very much a long-standing member of the Ferrari Corsa Clienti family, and great to have him back here on the grid in the car. And yeah, times are improving bit by bit. We can see, and we already said it, personal bests all over the board. Everybody is pushing early on.
You say bit by bit, Nico. Tibor Valent, who you were extolling the virtues of just a few moments ago for his longevity in the challenge, has just gone P1 in Shell to the tune of 2.4 seconds quicker than Jan Sandman. And Lucas Azato has just gone quickest for our Shell Am drivers. So actually, this track is evolving with every lap in terms of the grip available to the drivers, and them knowing where they can push and where they can't push, and where they can actually extract the maximum out of their 296 Challenge cars and the track that they're racing on, or qualifying on, I should say. So it's Sven Schirmer P1. Tibor Valent's time now been bested by Sven Schirmer with a 2:21.737. 2:21.737. Jean Rieu has gone to P2 overall, but P1 in Shell Am, besting Sandman, Tibor Valent and von Skeltermar. Then it's Lucas Azato, Stephen Earle and Charles Chan. Eric Chung now relegated to P5 in class, ahead of Alexei Komarov and Henrik Kamstrup. You can see all the orders on the left-hand side of your screen. The wonderful graphics that we're able to bring you here. Now, if the color bar is yellow, it means it's a Shell driver. If the color bar is black, it means it's a Shell Am driver, Nico.
Absolutely, and that indication also applies to the top of the windscreen, so that color coding is effectively universal, as we have a look at the Pino Frascaro car attacking the curbs quite a little bit in these not easy conditions, but holding it together nicely. There is Tibor Valent, who, as you said, was on P1, relegated to P4 overall, P3 in class. And yeah, the times are tumbling down, and I think it just underscores the fact that the drivers are not waiting around. They are trying to set the fastest lap as they can. Obviously, the Pirelli P0 rain tires have a different life cycle compared to the slicks, who have a very intentionally have a distinct window of prime operation. Oh, and we have a red flag because there is
Dr. Stephen Earle.
Dr. Stephen Earle, track side, and
just got onto the paint, Nico, and that offers a different grip, or lack of, and Stephen Earle has made contact, or big contact, with the tyre barriers there. So the red flag has been brought out because the integrity of the barriers has been damaged by the Stephen Earle car making contact, and that brings a halt to proceedings in qualifying. Tibor Valent P1, Sven Schirmer P2 for the Shell drivers. For the Am drivers, it's Jean Rieu and Masaru Yoneda. And here is Sven Schirmer into the pit lane as we ride on board with him right now. And you can see the screen on top of the dashboard there of Sven Schirmer's car. That's his rear view screen, because no rear view mirror inside the car because of the big safety bulkhead, which forms part of the integrity of the Ferrari Challenge 296 car. So they have a screen and cameras in the back bumper, if you like, and that projects a fantastic image onto that screen. And every driver tells me, Nico, that the the breadth and depth and comprehensive nature of the images that they see on that screen of what's going on behind them is actually bigger and better than it would ever be with a rear view mirror. So again, everything that is designed into these Ferrari Challenge cars is for the benefit of the driver.
Indeed, and it just one very, very small aspect and facet that makes these 296 Challenge cars such a amazing sports car and race car, as all the drivers tell us. It's how great it handles and how incredible, I don't want to say forgiving, but accommodating it is for the drivers, irrespective of their previous experience and talent level. And talent they all have, but obviously from the Pirelli P0 to the Shell M, there are different ambitions and different aspirations, and the 296 Challenge is just a car that suits everybody.
Yeah, and you know, you don't see one of these drivers getting out of the 296 Challenge car without a smile on the face. They absolutely love it. Charles Chan that we're looking at right now, one of the Formula Racing drivers inside the 296 Challenge car. We have a red flag, and the red flag brought about by, regrettably, Stephen Earle making contact with the barriers. As we look at Jean Rieu. Jean having done a fantastic job in qualifying for Castellet Racing, putting himself P1 in class, which is a hugely impressive feat. And let's take a look at what has happened thus far in qualifying here. Enjoying some of the highlights from the qualifying session thus far, the first 10 minutes of it, if you will. And the qualifying session has been suspended. The reason being a car into the barriers. So we look at the Pino Frescara car. And there we go back to our live pictures with the cars lined up, ready to get out again as soon as it is deemed safe and appropriate to do so. We look at the 103 car of Boris Gideon. Boris is always a driver there or thereabouts when it comes to the podium and the top three places. He hasn't yet set a time that is meaningful, I would suggest, for qualifying. So he's still got a time to set. And Paolo Scudieri in the 101 car, he has put a time on the board, but that's P9 in class, and he'll be hoping for better than that. And Stefano Gai is his driver coach who's talking to him right now. I would listen in, but it'll be in Italian, and my Italian translation is not so good. I don't know whether Marco, my engineer, is here. Yes, he is. He might be able to do that for me, but might be asking a bit much. A fine engineer that we have, and fine technical crew that look after us and make us look and sound pretty good, to be fair. So Tibor Valent was the quickest driver when the session was suspended. He's a Shell driver, and he'd put in a time of 2:21.066. Followed by Sven Schirmer, who was some 6 3/4 tenths behind. Jean Rieu was the best of the AM drivers. And I think it's fair to say that as the session was suspended, we could see that the track and feel that the track, and it was really changing, almost lap by lap, and getting better and better. So as the track was evolving, so able to put in quicker times. Boris Gideon, I was talking about just a few moments ago. Nico, I said he's always won there or thereabouts, isn't he?
Absolutely, and he had his ups and downs last year, but he was always quick. Didn't always have the results that his speed would indicate would have been possible. You could hear from the onboard camera the raindrops, and Not sure if we can see them. It's not very heavy rain, but obviously the track that had dried up a little bit, at least in terms of the racing line, with no cars going across it, that will take a few minutes to claw back that level of grip and comfort with the track conditions. And with just over 20 minutes remaining after you've got an outlap, those... Oh, and I'm sorry for anything that you heard. Just the emotions of the drivers in terms of trying to extol the best out of themselves and the car and their team's performance.
Yes, Sven Schirmer is a colourful character, it has to be said.
Absolutely. And,
and he's very demanding of himself as much as anybody else. You were talking about Boris Gideon, and I was laughing to myself, Nico, because Boris Gideon overtook us in an airport, in a race to the airport from the rental car village back to the airport terminal, you may recall, and I think that was at Bologna Airport in Italy last year. Boris Gideon with suitcase came flying past us. Said, "Sorry guys, I've got a plane to catch." So would we, but he was quicker than us, and quicker on foot as well as being quicker in a car, dare I say, Nico, than you or I.
There is no question about that, and good on him, especially when it comes to driving. Alex Gomerov, the 199 car, also still in pit lane, obviously, as everybody else. Now, I'm sure the Stephen Earle car has long been recovered, but obviously they will look at the integral safety, not only of the car, and look at the driver, but also the barriers.
Absolutely.
That is a spot where, as we saw, incidents can happen, and they just need to make sure that if there is another incident, as Stefano Guy inside the A, of course, garage.
He, of course, looking after Paolo Scudieri, as well as other drivers out there. A lot of these drivers have driver coaches who guide them and advise them. There's Alvaro Ramos in the 150 car. Great to see Alvaro back again. Alvaro Ramos. And then, as always, the familiar shark's teeth fronted car of Fons Skeltermar. I was saying to Fons earlier today how I love the new livery Fons. Very, very attractive indeed. Then we see the 104 car of Andreas Koenig. New livery for Andreas. Welcome back, Andreas. Glad you're back racing. Andreas Koenig, another very enigmatic and very successful driver who is always there or thereabouts, and certainly one to figure in the championship for 2026, as indeed was in 2025 as well, I'm sure. I think we're getting ready, Nico. We're getting ready to go. But this is the 2026 calendar. So here we are in Paul Ricard, the south of France. Then we're off to Mugello. Then it's Spielberg in Austria, Le Mans, where we support with two races in support of the Le Mans 24-hour race. Portimao in Portugal, lovely holiday destination. Budapest with that fantastic, really, really interesting circuit and a beautiful city to explore as well. And that will be a Ferrari Racing Days event, so even more special than a Ferrari Challenge event, if that's ever possible. And then Barcelona, which will form round 7, but not only will also form the Finale Mondiale event, the season-ending event, Nico, as well. It's a phenomenal calendar. Every year we look at the calendar, and every year it sounds like we, you know, say that it can't get better, but there's always one or two little surprises, Nico, and this year was no exception to that.
No, absolutely. As you were going through the calendar, I was thinking to myself, that's a highlight. And then there was the next one, highlight, is Le Mans. And then you've got Portimao in the south. And then, as you say, Budapest, we already qualify on Friday because there is so much going on during that weekend.
Yes.
And you add the appeal of the city, and then you go to Barcelona in the World Final, and that's even greater. And I just, beyond words, there is so much to look forward to.
Hello, Lisa. Lisa Clark is back racing here in Europe. American racer, races in the North American Challenge, which incidentally is also racing this weekend at the Thermal Club in California. And Lisa preferring to spend her time with me and us here in Europe, so has chosen to race in Paul Ricard rather than in California. And Yeah, on board with the Sven Schirmer car. We still have the red flag, and no indication yet from race control as to when we are going to go back to qualifying. Only they will decide when they have the information from the marshalling team to say that the barriers have been put back into a position that they're satisfied and happy with before we can go back to qualifying. Still 20 minutes and 49 seconds, and there's Pino Frascara. I may have mentioned earlier that we saw Pino and Mrs. Pino in our hotel last night. They're always lovely, lovely characters, and I have to say, Nico, that looks like torrential rain coming back down now, mate.
Yeah, and it is exactly what the teams probably predicted, and put their drivers on the trajectory to beat and avoid. And that's a very apt picture of the conditions right now, as the Rosso Corsa team is trying to find as much dry piece of tarmac as possible. But yeah, with 20 minutes and 49 seconds, with this kind of rain, will some drivers even question whether it makes sense to go out again immediately?
Well, I guess you're right. If you can use the other drivers to almost be your rain plow for you and dissipate some of that water, then maybe that would be a sensible thing to do. I don't know, but yeah, you may well be right. We're looking at Paolo Scudieri right now. Pleasingly, I think I'm seeing from one of the images, obviously we're in a studio and we have lots of images thrown at us. I think I can see Stephen Earle back in the Castellet garage, so I think Stephen Earle is perfectly okay, which is the most important thing. It was Stephen Earle that made contact with the barriers, which brought out the red flag, but looks like he's okay. I think I can see him in the Castellet garage. So hope that is the case, and hope that he is okay. He's a super top guy and great racing driver. And I can confirm that. I have just seen another image, and he looks perfectly all right. So they wanted to bring that. There he is. Thank you, team. Stephen Earle then, and talking to Charlie Hollings there, driver coach. And Stephen, thank goodness you're perfectly okay. Funnily enough, I was having a real conversation with him yesterday about an injury I have. And, you know, such a lovely man, always happy to give advice, and based in Texas in the USA, and has raced Nico in the Ferrari Challenge in Europe for many years, and he's a top driver. And yeah, we wish you well, Stephen. The team will work really hard to get the car in order again, and I'm sure we will see him over the course of the weekend.
Oh, definitely. As we take a look into some of the garages, interesting setup in the garages here in Le Castellet, because there are kind of two floors.
Two tiers, aren't they?
And the good thing about these people, they can enjoy being in the dry. Not so much for some of their crew mates who are in the pit lane and attending to the immediate needs of the drivers in the pit lane, which obviously is not dry. We still don't have an indication of when we will commence this session. As we said, it's about the track safety measures and installations, the barriers.
And while we can, Nico, let's have a look at this. And there is Manu Gosner. Now, Manuela Gosner has been a long-term campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge Europe, but he's actually choosing to race in the Ferrari Challenge UK this year. So that will be interesting. She decides to visit the beautiful circuits that we go to in the UK. Right, Nico, I have information to bring you in that the session will restart at 9:32, although that is to be confirmed. It's 9:27.5 right now, so just about 4 or 5 minutes away. And just before we cut away to that clip to music, I was going to say this is perhaps a good time for you and I to pay tribute to the army of volunteers that will be around the circuit marshalling, without whom we wouldn't be able to enjoy this wonderful sport that we do. And when it's in torrid conditions like this, even more is credit due to them. They are trained, they take their job very seriously, and all around the world, without those volunteer marshals, we wouldn't be racing. So from our side, a big thank you to them.
100%. And you say they take their job very seriously, and it is a job, but it isn't, because they're not paid for it, and therefore it's what they love and what they breathe. And you can tell, you know, never have I seen anybody who was there. They're strict. If you do something that you're not supposed to do, they will tell you, but I've never ever experienced any of them to be unfriendly or rude, because they play such a vital part and they do it with so much passion, and that's just yeah, it's just great, and such an integral part of the motorsport and racing family. Very, very important to give them the proper credit.
Just want to say a big shout out to one of our viewers who, Tim, hello, how are you? Who has said, just watching the qualifying, just thought I'd tell you that the weather is lovely here. Thanks, Tim. Great to hear from you. Great to hear from you.
Happy for him. Happy for him. Well, actually, the weather isn't that bad. It just looks that bad and feels bad, but otherwise it's perfect.
He's a great Ferrari guy who I've had the privilege and pleasure of spending some time with, much time with, and I have to say I always enjoy our conversations. So great to hear from you, friend. So where are we? Not many minutes away from getting the qualifying session back underway. Pleasingly, Tibor Valint and Sven Schirmer, the top two drivers in the Shell category. For the Shell Am drivers, it was Jean Rieu and Masaru Yaneda, both within just a couple of seconds, really, of the fastest of the Shell drivers. And there is Sven Schirmer, who has sat rigidly at the front of the queue, ready to go back out once again. There's Eric Chung, and a warm welcome back to Eric Chung, back racing again. He had a year off last year, unfortunately, had an incident at Monza, but is back, and it's great to see Eric and Corinne here. And Eric is currently fifth fastest. So his racing pedigree, Nico, is and remains just where we would expect it to be, at the top of the tree.
Definitely. And we take a look at the curbside.
Brilliant.
And I don't know, lovely weather. I mean, you can make the most out of it. The session will restart at 9:35 to be confirmed, which is 4 minutes away.
Okay.
So we can enjoy the weather even more. Thinking back of the calendar, I mean, there are some great destinations. Not all of them are as stable in weather as, let's say, the south of France. But I think that's one of the amazing things. We've been so surprised in terms of having pure sunshine at Spa-Francorchamps. But equally, we have been doused in rain in the likes of Valencia and Barcelona and similar destinations where you would think, actually, that sounds for a nice time out in the sun. It's just one part of motorsport.
Dare I say it? I mean, this event this weekend here in the south of France is a huge event because it's the start of the Ferrari Challenge Europe season. But also, it's the start of the Ferrari Challenge UK season as well. We have our North American cousins racing this weekend. Also, 6 championships across the Ferrari Challenge. And yeah, I have to say, this is not the... Hello, Max Mugelli and Tina. Happy birthday, Max Mugelli. It's his birthday today. Many, many congratulations to you, Max and Tina. Thank you, Franco, my director, for advising that it's Max Mugelli's birthday. He didn't tell me the age. It's probably as well, because I get on so well with Max and Tina. I might have said something naughty.
No, you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
Even though you're very young yourself.
Yeah, I am young. What I was saying is this event here in Paul Ricard, you know, launching the European season, also launching the UK season as well. So it's a huge contingent of cars, drivers, and it's just a wonderful place to be. But certainly it's made less wonderful by the blasted weather, I'm sorry to say. And it shows no sign of easing up at the moment, Nico.
No, I think overall the prediction for the day is that the liquid sunshine will disappear a little bit over the course of the day. I'm not going to say it's going to be dry, and I'm not going to say that there are not going to be showers, but the majority of the precipitation is supposed to be in the morning hours, which potentially will bode well for the races later on. We've seen that last year in Brno, for example, where the weather changed multiple times over the course of the day, and even though the races were only effectively an hour or so apart in terms of their start times, every single one of them had kind of a microcosm in terms of the track evolution from wet to dry and dry to wet, so it can make for very, very interesting strategies and choices. And certainly, I mean, not that you need anything to spice up the Ferrari Challenge races, but the weather can do that. And we're about a minute away from getting this quali session underway. And
that is confirmed now. It's not TBC anymore. It is C.
I see.
It is confirmed. So, yeah, we are now just 50 seconds away from the session getting underway with 20 or 21 minutes, as near as makes no difference, left for the qualifying session. Drivers back out there, and it's like starting all over again, which they will have to do. And the rain has certainly intensified from when last they were out there on the track proper. So we'll see what they can do. It's a packed program, actually. We've got a lot of qualifying sessions to get underway and get done during the course of the morning before we go racing this afternoon for the first series of races this weekend. So the stoppage won't have helped our scheduling team, but it's now going to go green. There we are. I was bang on time there. And Sven Schirmer, Eric Chung, Jan Sandman, they're all on their way out of the pit lane right now and back out to qualifying in this Ferrari Challenge Coperchel and Coperchel AM qualifying session for our European competitors. Right on board with Sven Schirmer, who has got the clear track ahead of him, and therefore his visibility is not compromised. He will be tentatively feeling where the grip is and where the grip isn't. I was involved in one of the driver briefings, and there are some fixed cameras, Nico, here with regards to track limits, where it's very easy and very encouraging here at Paul Ricard across certain corners to just extend the circuit a little bit and try and take advantage of just going off the circuit and getting something of a slingshot. Well, the powers that be realise that, and they've actually installed cameras to factually judge whether you break the track limits or not. Now, the rules are, if you exceed the track limits, as we saw the speed camera there, if you exceed the track limits, Nico, during qualifying, the lap time that you're on gets deleted. Now, in the race, you get 3 track limit warnings. The 4th track limit, you pick up a penalty, and then the penalties intensify if you become a repeat offender.
Absolutely. Excellent explanation. That's exactly how it works. There is also a long-term effect because there are behavior points for all drivers. You can compare them kind of in football or soccer with yellow cards. It doesn't immediately do something against you.
There's behavior points for broadcasters.
But if you collect too many of them, it will give you... you'll be banned for a race, for a match. And here, if you collect too many behavior points, and it's actually a misbehavior point to be very accurate, you can suffer a grid drop. It's not something that we necessarily want to see, but it's just one part of the disciplinary repertoire of Claudio Garavini, our race director.
I'm just listening to one of my producers saying, Dave, you're going to be sent to the naughty step. How unusual. We cross the line with Sven Schirmer, and there we see where he is as we get the clock running on the Sven Schirmer car for Penske Sportwagen Hamburg. Sven Schirmer is the current Ferrari Challenge Copa Am champion. He won that last year, gets elevated into the Copa Championship for this year, and quite rightly, it looks like he's as determined in Copa as ever he was in Copa Am, Nico, and I'm sure he will do well. However, it is Tibor Valint who remains the fastest in Copa at the moment, but that time was set before the session was suspended. We have 17.5 minutes remaining. So top 3 for the Shell drivers: Tibor Valint, Sven Schirmer and Jan Sandman. The top 3 for Shell Am: Jean Rieu, Masaru Yaneda and Lucas Azato.
Yeah, just looking at our timing screen, there is not an abundance of personal bests as of yet. There are the first few light blue colors that we can see pop up. That means the first few drivers...
There is. The reason I'm laughing is we split the screen. To the right-hand side is Andrea Gagliardini, I think I pronounced that correctly, who is driver coach to Sven Schirmer, which is, I'm not sure that's a job I'd want, truthfully. And sometimes, when there's not a North American race weekend, which is where Max Blancardi will be this weekend, sometimes you've got Andrea and Max both coaching Sven. I mean, it's a triumvirate of extraordinary emotions, as we've seen in the past. Because both Andrea and Max are big characters in their own right. And as we heard earlier on, Sven Schirmer knows how to mix it up as well, Nico.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love this championship. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. And Sven Schirmer, as you can see, he's a little bit of a wobble there. And you can see how much spray is being kicked up. And that's significantly more than we had just before the red flag came out. So there is, as we get yellow flags at turns 11 and 12, that's not a precursor of another stoppage to this session. Certainly means that there is a car off track, but turns 11, 12 is somewhere where potentially there's a lot of runoff area and you can recover the car and keep it pointing or get it pointing into the right direction again. Yeah, and the yellow flags have been lifted, so we play on. Sven Schirmer, not an improvement the last time around.
Is this the wobble, Nico?
It's the wobble. I don't think it is the wobble that we just saw.
Okay.
This is through the far end of the circuit. There is Tibor Valint chasing.
I don't think he's going to chase his time of 2:21.066 because I think the the conditions, and he's in traffic now as well. I think the conditions are just not conducive to timed improvements on what was set earlier on, Nico, although you're going to now prove me wrong.
Well, I think the car he is behind is the Shintaro Akatsu car, still getting used to some of the new
livery for Shintaro, isn't it? Yes.
Indeed. Lucas Azato, who just set a overall best in the first sector, which would indicate that at least across the start-finish straight in the first few turns, it's possible to mix it up with the previous best, and Jan Salmon also improves. So, as
I'm wrong.
Thibaut Valent finally through the final turn gets past, but I'm not sure if he took a lot of momentum out of that turn. Actually, I'm pretty sure he didn't, which means that the next lap around is not going to be an improvement necessarily. So it looks like the track has evolved again to the point where we can expect improvements, both in terms of personal times as well as the charge for the pole position.
Here comes Lucas Azato then for Castellet Racing with purple sector 1 and purple sector 2. Let's see what he can do through the final sector. There you can see into the Formula Racing garage they look on, but Azato is a Castellet Racing driver, rounds the final turn and hopes for a better time than 2:21.066 and breaks the timing beam, and it is a he's just 2.5 tenths down, Nico, which is second fastest in Shell Am. So Jean Rieu remains P1 in Shell Am. Thibaut Valent remains P1 in Shell. And we've got 13 minutes of the qualifying session remaining. You're with us here in Circuit Paul Ricard for Ferrari Challenge Copa Shell qualifying, which has been fairly heavily impacted by the weather conditions. Round has gone the number 180 car of Alwar Mer, but he manages to get it pointing in the right direction once again. The Go Motorsport Engstler driver. Well done, good recovery there, Alwar. Oh, that was a high speed. And look, that just proves, Nico, that when the grip is affected by wet weather, how when you lose the car, and that's also Alexei Komarov having lost the car, just glancing the barriers, Nico. Alexei Komarov scrubbing the speed as the car was sideways, but just glanced the barriers, thankfully avoiding another stoppage, I think.
Absolutely, and we sometimes talk about the characteristics of certain tracks in terms of old school tracks, like maybe Zolder or Brno, and
crikey, there's a track I've not been to for a few years.
And then Le Castellet with huge runoff area, and I think in these conditions we're quite glad and happy that we're at this specific venue, because it allows the drivers to recover from such a moment. Azato with good first two sectors. I'm not sure if he is able to complete that because of traffic and visibility. I rather think that he had to lift through this section of the track. And it's a little bit, the track design is very, very interesting, but given the twisty nature of the last sector, you can have two amazing, blisteringly quick sectors, but then the final sector,
it all up in the final sector.
For a slower car, there is really no place to position the car that it doesn't impede you. So this track structure in particular has a little bit of a tendency to ruin your lap at the very last moment.
Well, Lucas Azato did improve, and he now goes P1 in Shell Am. Here is Jan Sandman, who you picked up on the fact that Jan was improving as well, and sure enough, his Sector 2 is very, very good. He's currently P3 in class. Jan Sandman hoping for an improvement here, and perhaps besting Sven Schirmer and maybe even Thibaut Valent. Let's see what the time is when he breaks the beam of the timing. As Jan Sandman then does improve, but he doesn't best his two rivals in the Shell category quite yet. So on the left-hand side of your screen, the graphics there, as we look at a replay, here is Jan Sandman for Castellet Racing. Should mention the fact that Jan Sandman, indeed Copa Shell Am world champion. He took the world championship title but he didn't take the championship title overall. They're different. The World Final race is one race only, winner takes all event in the Finale Mondiale. So he is currently third in the category of shell. The shell category is colored yellow. That's why the numbers on the left-hand side of your screen, if they're shrouded in yellow, that means it is a shell driver. Shrouded in black, it's a Shell Am driver, and those colors also represented on the top of the windscreen of your wonderful Ferrari Challenge 296 car, making it easy for us to identify in which class each driver is running, Nico.
Absolutely. 9 minutes, 18 seconds remaining. Tibor Wallent, P1, Sven Schirmer with purple sectors. Jan Sandman, purple sectors. Von Skeltema, the Shark, with purple sectors. So we really see this qualifying session now with times coming down. Sven Schirmer with a lot of momentum out of that turn.
Yep.
And he's not throwing caution to the wind, but he is throwing his 296 challenge around these turns here in Le Castellet.
We ride on board with him right now, as you can see. Purple sector 1, personal best through sector 2. Sven Schirmer is heading for the timing beam now, Nico. Is this going to be an improvement for Sven Schirmer? He's got to beat a 2:21.066. And he's 3/10 down on that, Nico, so getting much closer, friend.
Yeah, I lost a little bit of time, or quite, compared to the other sectors, quite a lot of time in the final sector, but he obviously can go again. 8 minutes, 20 seconds. There is Jan Sandman. We could see traffic, but we will know in just a few moments where his time ends up. You said 2:21.066, and
whoa!
That is a 2:29.33.
Nico, I was looking at the color bars. He'd had an awful sector 1, relatively. Sector 2 was brilliant. And, you know, he put it all together in that technical section of the track, Nico, sector 3, to come up with a fantastic time of 2:29.33. Well done, Jan Sandman. There's David Fumanelli. He'll be pretty pleased with that.
Indeed, this camera shot really compresses, obviously, but the visibility, especially with the spray being kicked up, and some water on the lens, admittedly, really showing how difficult the conditions are. Sven Schirmer going again. First sector was effectively the same time as Jan Sandman. We're talking about thousands of a difference. He's now approaching the second sector line. Where will that put him? Just a few moments away. He's currently half a second behind. The second sector, not there, wasn't there, but his last sector the last time around was compromised, so there is potential for him to move up and maybe make up some time.
The competition between Jan Sandman and Sven Schirmer was, dare I say it, Nico, red hot last year, and it's going to provide a fantastic competition for us again this year. Sven Schirmer has got Alexei Komarov right ahead of him, and you can see Sven trying to find a way by. Alexei Komarov gives him room. You can't just make your car disappear off the track, Nico, but inevitably that will have compromised Sven Schirmer's hopes and aspirations, I think, of getting closer to Tibor Wallent and the Jan Sandman time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can see sector 2 is grey from the colour bars, the S2 above the clock that's ticking down at the bottom of your screen. I don't think this is going to be an improvement for Sven.
No.
How many times have I been wrong before?
You've been right, and he wasn't slow necessarily, but he certainly didn't have the final sector that he would have needed anyway. Lucas Azato, meanwhile, had the final sector that he needed. He brought it up to P1, 2:20.584.
Here comes Von Skeltema. This looks like it's going to be an improvement for Fons, who's fourth fastest at the moment in class. Make that second fastest in class now for Von Skeltema. And
it's only by a tenth and a half. So we are getting to the final stages. We have a Shell Am driver heading the timing chart, as you can see from the black color coding behind the number 1. For the race later on, everybody will line up in the position that they finish overall. So we will not resort Shell and Shell Am. So if you're a Shell driver and you way down the order, that's exactly where you will start, with 7, 8, 10 Am drivers in front of you, if that's how qualifying ends. Sven Schirmer doesn't want anybody in front of him, ever. ever.
We're riding on board with Sven Schirmer right now. I'm just looking at the track map to see who it is that's ahead of him. Sadly, my eyesight is failing like much of the rest of my body as I'm decrepit as I am. Sven Schirmer, whose Sector 1 and Sector 2 means he's 3/10 up. And
could be the Eric Chung car, incidentally.
Thank you, Nico. Okay, so he's been flashing his lights furiously. Oh, and that, I think, unfortunately, for Sven, has completely Horlicked that lap. He ran off onto the painted lines. It would have been a track exceeding track limits anyway. Just proof how hard he is pushing, and there is his driver coach saying, come on, let's just regroup and we go again. This is where it all went wrong. Once you're on the painted lines, Nico, it affords you a different grip level, and you can see the back end of the car deciding to overtake the front of the car. And for Sven, who was on a trajectory to improve, he was 3/10 quicker, but he's going to have to try and dig deep and do it all again. Doing it all again is von Skelterma, and I say doing it all over again because he was quick last lap around, Nico. And right now, he is looking good once again.
And Lucas Osato just finished his lap without an improvement. Someone coming into the pit lane in the background we could see, but von Skelterma, no such plans. He's heading for the timing line. P2 in class, P3 overall, will become P2. Well, stay the same. Lost a lot of time in the last sector for some reason.
But then you say for some reason, Nico, you so well explained how the sectors are so different, and when you're setting a car up, it's always a compromise. You know, and it might be that Fonz's car is set up to maximize Sector 1 and Sector 2, and Sector 3 becomes more difficult. But whilst we're talking about all of that, Jan Sandman has gone to the top of the chart. Jan Sandman quicker than anyone with a 2:20.080. Now that would give him pole position. At the moment, Sven Schirmer, Nico, would be starting on the 3rd row of the grid, and he would not like that.
No, he is currently on a lap, which is not purple, but he will have enough time to do another one, so it's not last chance saloon. The driver who came into the pits, incidentally, was Alexei Kombarov, just to finish that. Boris Gideon, we talked about him at the beginning of the program, and he looks quick, at least on the 2nd sector. Let's see what he can do from P4 in class. And that does stay P4 in class. But at least it was a personal best improvement. Tibor Wallin just vaults to P2, lots of improvement, personal best. The track has certainly evolved again after that rain in the middle of the session during the red flag.
Jan Salmon on another one, but it's not going to count because he's had a track limits against him. That didn't, that didn't impact his time that sends him to the top of the chart at the moment, but you're going to have to be critical here. Henrik Kamstrup has got a track limits. Boris Gideon, another driver with a track limits. So here comes Lucas Osato, who for so long was right at the top of the chart. He's at the top of the chart for the Shell Am drivers anyway. And now he goes back to the top of the chart of anyone, Nico, having taken a huge amount of time, a 1.4, 1.3 second margin, but Sven Schirmer does put the lap together and goes to the top in terms of Shell drivers, but now he's been bested by von Skelterma. It's all changing in the final minute here, my friend.
Indeed, and there is more change afoot, I dare predict, unless we have a stoppage, and there is a reaction to the Sven Schirmer time, no doubt. He will go again. He will know that there is more competition, and that competition includes Jan Sandman, Tibor Wallin, and quite a few of the other drivers. We can see top to bottom on our timing screen, there are improvements.
Absolutely. How exciting has this qualifying session been, Nico? You've got your eyes very much on the timing screen to see who's colouring the sectors purple. That's the critical one. Lucas Osato for Castellet Racing is the fastest overall, and he's a Shell Am driver, a 2:18.665. Von Skelterma, the quickest of the Shell drivers, Tibor Valent is improving, Nico.
Yeah, it was a dead heat through 2 sectors with the current best time from Asato. I'm not sure if Tibor Valent getting past Lisa Clark helped his efforts, but we will see. He is finishing because the checkered flag, as you can see, is out. This is the last chance, P4 for the time being. Let's see where he can get it. He has improved, second in class. Wasn't enough for pole position. Jan Salmon, one of the drivers who's out there, and the other one, would you predict, is Sven Schirmer.
Oh, this is brilliant. The qualifying session here has been so dramatic. Hope you're enjoying it as much as we are. Here comes Jan Salmon then for Castellet Racing. We're waiting to see what his Sector 2 time is going to be. Sector 1, quicker than anyone. Everyone is improving out there on track, trying to keep it within the white lines to make sure there are no track limits infringements. Sven Schirmer, this lap from Sven Schirmer is not looking so brilliant, Nico, to be honest with you. He's about to round out the final turn as we ride on board with Sven Schirmer right now. I don't think this is going to improve his P3 place. It blooming well does. What do I know? With 2 sectors that didn't look brilliant, Sven Schirmer has gone P2 overall, but P1 in class. What's Jan Salmon going to do about that, Nico?
He will try everything to change that, and he is on the final few meters. He has a good chance, and
Whoa!
Indeed, at the gun, final moment, half a second quicker than anybody else, takes pole position, we believe. Let's see what happens over the remainder of the last few laps of the cars are still out there, but I think that is pole position for Shell, and just clawed it away from our Shell M drivers. Now that was an exciting qualifying session if I ever saw one. Castellet Racing, Jan Salmon in the final moment to the top of our timing screen.
That was an awesome qualifying session. So Jan Salmon P1, Lucas Asato, the Shell Am driver, is P2. Then it's Schirmer, Skeltermar, Valent, Ryu, Eric Chung, Akatsu, Alwar Mehr, Andreas Koenig, Charles Chan, Fritz Muller, Boris Gideon, Ivan David Mari, Leon Rimbeek, then Yoneda, Kamstrup, Scudieri, Lima, Clark, Komarov, Earl, Ramos, Sato, and Frascaro. Oh, I love it. I love it. Bring it on. I have to say, Nico, that qualifying session was more entertaining than a lot of other series races.
Definitely, and I mean, it's always very interesting when you get to a new season and the first time that everybody matches their wits and their skills against each other, and you see effectively, you get the first taste of the power structure within a grid. I'm not sure under these conditions it's necessarily indicative of how it would be on a different circuit with different conditions, but my God, it's already produced lots of drama and excitement, and you made the point, Sven Schirmer, having no sector of specific distinction at the end, but I think it was just as we take a look first at our final results, Dave.
Confirmation, if they're yellow, it's a Shell driver. If they're black, it's a Shell Am driver. Jan Salmon, Lucas Asato, Sven Schirmer, von Skeltermar, Tibor Valent, Jean Ryu, Eric Chung, Shintaro Akatsu, Alwar Mehr, Andreas Koenig. They are the top 10 drivers overall. Then it was Charles Chan, Fritz Muller, Boris Gideon, Ivan David Mari, Leon Rinbeek, Masaru Yoneda, Henrik Kamstrup, Paolo Scudieri, and Alexander Lima. Great job done by those drivers in a very, very difficult qualifying session where the track conditions were less than perfect. Lisa Clark, Alexei Komarov, Stephen Earl, Alvaro Ramos, Ken Sato, and Pino Frascaro. Those results brought to you by Faye, and the man you can see on the left-hand side of your screen is our pole sitter, and that is Jan Sandman.
Absolutely. Just to finish the thought, the qualifying session was so with traffic and the weather that if you combine the best sectors of each driver, you would probably be at a second quicker than the final time, because it was so difficult to get that one clean lap, and I think Jan Salmon at the end, he nailed it.
He did, and we take a look at Jan Sandman from Nico and from myself. Thank you so much for enjoying and watching qualifying. We'll see you back on the air soon. Bye-bye for now.
have just seen an amazing qualifying session in Castellet for the Ferrari Challenge Europe to kick off the season. And we will continue with Trofio Pirelli and Trofio Pirelli AM in but a few moments, exactly a minute and a half, as we still look at some of the cars of our Castellet competitors, including Lisa Clark. This is the Circuit Paul Ricard at Lake Castellet. As if proof was needed, there it is. This is our calendar for the 2026 season in Europe. And yeah, we're at the first round. It's Lake Castellet, and we will go to Mugello, Spielberg, Le Mans to support the 24 hours, Portimao, Ferrari Racing Days Budapest, and then the World Finals towards the second half of November. So that's quite some time away, Dave, but we've got lots of entertainment, lots of great racing in between now and then.
Do you know what's really irritating? And that is that the calendar seems to go so quickly. Once you get into the year and once you start, all of a sudden it's like a whirlwind of entertainment, isn't it? But here we are at Paul Ricard, and as Nico says, this is the circuit. 5.842 kilometers, 15 turns, 6 of them left-handers, 9 of them right-handers. Now, the circuit was actually built back in 1969, although it didn't host its first race until 1970. And it's around about 50 kilometers from Marseille. And as you can see, it has got some elevation changes. You wouldn't think it. And can I say, Nico, this is the first circuit wherever I was treated to a ride in a Ferrari Challenge car. And it was a real roller coaster of emotions sat in that car, I can tell you. Absolutely brilliant. Welcome back to Sergio Paulet, who is going to be in Trofio Pirelli. We've got Max Mugelli celebrating his birthday today. And then the Pirelli AM drivers, Danilo Del Favro, Herbert Guys, Anders Bidstrup, Mikael Verhagen, Jakob Bidstrup, Nobuhiro Imada, Otto Blank, Giacomo Rinaldo, Gilles Renmans, and Karl Ruhenfeldt. And there is Max Mugelli, the birthday man. Happy birthday to you, Max. The CDP Eureka competition driver who races in Ferrari Challenge Trofio Pirelli here in Europe and has done for a number of years, Nico. And yeah, great to see Max back again. And our Trofio Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers are on their way for qualifying right now. So there's Danilo Del Favro. I mean, that is a distinctive livery. He's a distinctive driver, Nico.
Yes, absolutely, and great to have him on the grid here for the Trofeo Pirelli the white sunstrip and later on the white graphics. As for Anders Bidstrup, if it's white, it's a Pirelli AM driver. It is red, that means it's a Pirelli driver. Qualifying will be done together in one session. The race will be done together in one race, and they will line up for that race on a grid that is going to be mixed. So wherever you qualify, that's where you will start the race.
Yes. Now the Bidstrup brothers, Anders and Jacob, they had outings last year, and I think I'm right in saying the year before as well, but here for a full campaign this year, I hope. Nobuhiro Imada we're watching right now. Nobuhiro Imada driving for Formula Racing, a very, very experienced racing driver, and one whom shared dinner with us last night. Well, shared same location for dinner last night, and there is Herbert Guys. Good to see Herbert here with another very, very distinctive livery, which you can explain all about, Nico, down the side of his car.
Yeah, fairly local to where I live and hail from, the Cologne area of Germany, where Carnival just a month ago was a very, very big thing, with 1 million people flogging into Cologne.
1 million.
For the Carnival parade on the, I think it's Good Monday? Anyway, on the Monday where the big parade is, and so costumes are very much a thing, and Herbert Guys is very much connected to that part of culture. I use that
loosely.
Potentially, with the right context. And yeah, that is the expression that he has decided to put on the blank canvas. That's a 296 challenge. We see a lot of very interesting and colorful interpretation. Some very conservative. Herbert Guys, less conservative.
We're watching Nobuhiro Imada right now. Got 26, 27 minutes of the qualifying session still to remain. My colleague alongside me, Nico, it's one of the first times we met. I was invited to Cologne to a meeting, and what he didn't tell me was I was arriving in Cologne on a carnival weekend, and I was greeted by various people in states of undress and dress at the Cologne Bonn airport. What the heck is going on? And it's, oh yeah, it's Carnival, Dave, in February.
Yeah, it generally happens in February.
Why are people wearing no clothes in February? This is
yeah, it's a creative textile season. Nobuhiro Yamada creating.
Nobuhiro is such a good driver, Nico. He's raced so many cars. He really knows, and he's a wonderful addition to the Ferrari Challenge Europe contingent, if you will. Just to remind you, as Nico said earlier on, if you're a Pirelli driver, then you have a red strip across the top of the windscreen. If you're an AM driver, you have a white strip across the top of the windscreen. Cars qualifying together, and Nobuhiro Yamada at the moment is one of the fastest to show. We would expect that. Sergio Paulet is back again for Nico Riparto Corsa Ram. We haven't seen Sergio Paulet for a couple of years in Ferrari Challenge. I think it's a couple of years or so. But a very good driver, that's for sure. And Nobuhiro Yamada then for Formula Racing. The messages, Nico, are flooding into our broadcast booth from your fans, not mine.
Didn't know they existed, but Nobuhiro Yamada, he certainly has his fans. He just put his car with a 221.600 onto the provisional pole position, which I'm sure is something that will change over the course of the next 25 minutes. Oh, as we have a real sideways moment. That was not the quickest way around from Sergio Paulet.
I was saying that the messages are flooding in. It relates to something that we've said, and former Ferrari Challenge driver Axel Sardigan deciding to send a photograph of his costume for Carnival.
Hi, Axel. Great to...
Greetings to Nico, he says. Lovely man, lovely man. We miss you, Axel.
Absolutely. I hope you're well wherever you are, whatever you however you dress currently. We always love you in your race suit and in your car in the Ferrari Challenge, or wherever you take your racecraft to. I have no doubt, wherever you do, it's going to be amazing and it's going to be hugely entertaining. Max Mugelli, birthday man, P1 for the time being, 221.201. We saw in Shell earlier how the drivers came out early and in earnest and tried to put the banker as early as possible. The final best times came towards the end of the session, but because of the weather being very changeable and rain always a potential, it's not like the track is always going to evolve and it's going to get quicker.
Sure.
You might just, if you don't go out early and set a time, you might just be caught out. And the fact that all our drivers are out on the track is a testament to that. Nobody's leaving it late.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That strategy is the right strategy, I feel sure, because you just don't know what's gonna happen. Gilles Redmans for Francorchamps Motors has gone P1, beating Max Mugelli, Nico, with a 2:29.99, so a clear 2/10 quicker. Nobuhiro Yamada is the fastest of our AM drivers, ahead of Jacob Bidstrup and Michael Verhagen. A warm welcome back to Michael Verhagen. And Michael's family, his partner, Charlotte. Lovely people. Welcome back. And they're inside the garages. We can see as behind every great driver, as Michael Verhagen, just as I was talking about him, goes to the top of the chart, Nico, with a 2:19.841. So he is the fastest driver out there. He's a Pirelli AM driver, P1. Well done, Michael Verhagen. Of Gilles Redmans and then Max Mugelli. Let's ride on board here and see what it's like inside the challenge car of Gilles Redmans, the Francorchamps Motors Brussels driver, as Max Mugelli now goes P1. So this track, once again, Nico, we're seeing it in an evolved state.
100%, yeah, and we still think that the times are going to be, unless the weather changes, significantly quicker towards the end of this session. With the 2:19.213 currently the benchmark by Max Mugelli, but we can see that purple and personal bests are all over our timing screen.
Yeah, we see those personal bests, you're absolutely right. But Gilles Redmond's look setting bests of anyone across Sector 1 and Sector 2. The Francorchamps Motors Brussels driver I spoke to yesterday rounds out the lap, heads towards the timing screen. This could be a new P1 here. Sergio Paula is currently second fastest in Trofio Pirelli, and now going P1, Gilles Redmond's. Nico, I'm saying that the track is evolving. Is it evolving this much? It's a second quicker than Max Mugelli.
The track is evolving, the drivers are getting into their own, they have the comfort level in terms of where is the grip and how is the grip behaving among different parts of the circuit. Now with the 2:18.185, that's roughly where the pole position was for Coppershell just, I want to say 25 minutes or so ago. So we expected this time to certainly be bettered, and bettered it has almost been.
I've just been clapping my hands to Herbert Guys, who brought his car out of the pit lane, a couple of installation laps, and has gone, I was going to say, fastest in Pirelli Am. However, he's just been beaten by Michael Verhagen and Nobuhiro Imada. So this is changing meter by meter, Nico, meter by meter. This is such an exciting qualifying session, of which we've still got 20 minutes remaining.
Indeed, and you can see Max Mugelli flashing his lights, and as he finishes the lap, no improvement overall, remains P3, but an improvement in terms of time. Sergio Paula we expect to come through very, very soon, and his first two sectors, which he has now added a third one, all of them purple, 2:17.144. It's another second taken away, or clawed away from the track, and now we're firmly in best lap time of the day territory.
Here's Herbert Guys, he's doing the same, Nico, with a purple Sector 1 and a purple Sector 2, 4 tenths down. That, of course, though, is within class, and that is his Pirelli Am class, which at the moment is headed by Jacob Bidstrup, who has set a time of 2:18.180. Herbert Guys, though, for Maranello Motors Pro Racing, could be securing that top spot in Pirelli Am in qualifying thus far. We will see. It's all changing. Gilles Redmond's deciding to come into the pit lane. We can see from the P against the graphics there. Sergio Paula, P1. Then it's Gilles Redmond's. Then it's Max Mugelli. They're the top three for the Pirelli drivers. For the Am drivers, it's Jacob Bidstrup, who's P1 at the moment. Michael Verhagen, P2. But Herbert Guys is rounding the final turn now, and will head towards the timing beam, hoping to beat the 2:18.180. Well, he has done that, and he's the second driver to put it into the 2:17s, a 2:17.652. It's only 5 tenths down on the best Pirelli driver, Nico.
Yeah, very, very good lap and very, very strong performance. There is Sergio Paula, who has put it onto the spot on the sun, metaphorically at least, for the moment. P1 overall, first in class, first overall, and he is, after the first sector wasn't quite as strong as the previous lap, he's recovered, and he is now again on a improvement trajectory as he's going through the final few turns of the last sector. His team, including Manuel Agostna, teammates looking on. Nico Reparto calls the Ram team really, really successful ever since its inception a few years ago.
You're right.
Lots of championships, trophies collected already. Sergio Paula following in that path, and it is an improvement by another quarter of a second.
So Sergio Paula heading the timing screens, the first driver now, Nico, to put it into the 2:16s. Interesting livery across the Sergio Paula car. the striking yellow and silver and how it merges from one side to the other is really very, very clever. So as Nico said, in the Inico Reparto Corsa Ram garage was Manuel Agostner, who's choosing to race in the Ferrari Challenge UK series this year, as Herbert Guys is again trying to improve. His Sector 1 was an improvement, his Sector 2 was not. But to be fair, and Nico I'm sure will testify to the comments I'm about to make, you don't need to have every sector coloured purple or blue to mean that you're going to go better than you've gone before.
Absolutely not, and we just saw that on the previous Copper Shell qualifying, where that was the case. But Herbert Guys, obviously the first one was good, and he is first in class, but he would like to stretch his legs and his time advantage even more. 2:17.652 his previous best, and it's another tenth that he has improved on that.
So that just proved exactly what we were talking about.
It's a little bit more cushion towards the next Shell Pirelli M drivers. For the moment, that's 6/10 between them, but that can change in a heartbeat. Max Mugello with personal bests, trying to move up the order. He's currently P6 overall, has some traffic in front of him. Will that hinder his progress? It's certainly not going to help, but as you can see, very, very fair. Moving as far away to the side as possible, and actually heading into pit lane. There is Tina.
Analysing the data. Remind us, Nico, if you will. We have two classes, two categories qualifying here. Shell qualified earlier on. We're now with the Pirelli drivers and a mix of Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers, Max Mugello being a Pirelli driver. The time they set in qualifying, of course, sets the grid. How does the grid line up, Nico, relative to the categories?
Well, we will line up however they finish in qualifying. We will not make a distinction between what Pirelli Am. If you finish P8 overall, that is exactly where you start, pending.
So effectively then you could have Pirelli Am drivers ahead of Pirelli drivers. It's, as you say, lining up how they finish overall. So it is in it's in the driver's interest, isn't it, if you're a Pirelli driver, to be as far up the grid as possible, because what you don't want is, as you would have at the situation, if we took the grid right now, someone like Gilles Remans would have 3 Pirelli Am drivers ahead of him before he could get even on terms with Sergio Paolo.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks for that.
And actually in Shell, we had a Shell M driver line up on the front row overall, because he finished, Azato, I believe, finished P2 overall.
And that would be the case here, wouldn't it, with Herbert Guys? Presumably the front row of the grid would be Sergio Paolo and Herbert Guys, if it all finished right now.
Indeed, and Imada is trying his level best to do something about that. Very, very good lap times for the moment. His time after 2 sector, or his gap to Sergio Paolo, is exactly the same gap that Herbert Guys has as the finish line. So that's a tough ask, but he certainly is on his way to potentially move up from P4 in class and vote a few Pirelli drivers, and that's exactly what he does. P4 overall, P3 in class. And here is our provisional pole setter once again.
We've got 13.25 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. If you're just joining us, welcome. It's 10:20 local time here in the south of France, and it is round 1 of the Ferrari Challenge Trofio Pirelli for 2026. We're watching Sergio Paolo, who's on a trajectory of improvement here. And as the team watch on, let's see Sergio Paolo. Can he best his 2:16.761 time? He can indeed, to 2:16.144, Nico. This track is emerging, isn't it?
It is emerging, it is evolving, and Sergio Paolo, he doesn't need any support in being quick. Well, he needs his team, obviously, but he is quick under pretty much all circumstances. So the likes of Max Mugello and Gilles Remans in Pirelli, they have their work cut out for them to get and try to wrestle that pole position away. We still have 12 minutes, so it's not about time necessarily. It's just about finding empty space on the track and finding everything, putting it all together. Gilles Remans, first sector, not not quite there. Second sector equally. Looks like very much for an improvement, but the attack and launch for a pole position potential, that will have to wait for another lap. But where will he put it? He moved up at least second overall, so that already puts him into a much better position.
Yes, absolutely right, Nico. Well called. Here is the number 77 car, the Francorchamps Motors Brussels supported Gilles Renman's car, 216.809. Two drivers in the 216s. They are Sergio Paulet and Gilles Renman. So two Pirelli cars, P1 and P2, by dint of the red colours. The white colours are Pirelli AM drivers, and as you can see, the top two of those go, surprisingly, top three of them. Now, Herbert Guys, Michael Verhagen and Nobuhiro Imada have come into the pit lane by dint of the blue P alongside their graphics. Sorry, there's a joke in there somewhere.
But we'll discuss that after the program. We refocus on what's happening on the track. Sergio Paulet is happening, and he's happening again and again and again. He's not letting up. Feels like every single time we've cut to the program, he is there being quick. Now we cut to him, and he has used the ramp into the pit lane. There is also, and there we can see him on the right hand side at the very back, as Nobuhiro Imada was in the forefront. Lots of drivers coming into pit lane. Quite a few have come out again. Michael Verhagen, one of those.
I'm just looking at this track, Nico, and I'm thinking if there was no rain between now and race time, you know, it would be a choice for the drivers, wouldn't it, in terms of tyres? We could just see Nobuhiro having a new set of wets put on his car to go back out again. But I'm just wondering, you know, we've got 10 minutes of this qualifying session left. You know, whether when it came to race time, I think we've got a big gap, haven't we, between the qualifying and the races. If there was no more rain, and sorry, that's prompted you to go into the weather radar, and I don't really want to give you more and additional work. But what's the prediction, Fred?
Yeah, it's difficult, as Gilles Renman just clawed a few more 100s actually back on Sergio Paulet, still half a second off, but consolidating his second overall. It's not supposed to be rain a lot between now and the races, or this evening actually. There is the chance for a few more showers. I think you're right, because we still have the Ferrari Challenge UK qualifying coming after this one, so the track is going to be even more active, and therefore water being dissipated. It would certainly make for a very interesting tire choice for the race. The race start, incidentally, is 1400 local time, which is 3.5 hours from now. It would be very interesting for the Shell drivers, for the Pirelli drivers, if there is no more rain. I think with one more race having been done just before them, I think the tendency would be slicks. But
wow,
that is all on the assumption it doesn't rain again, and
I appreciate
that is a stretch. That is a stretch.
I appreciate
Jakob Bidstrup, not a stretch, P4 overall, or P4 in class, 6th overall, as we see almost all the drivers who had come into the pits now coming out again. With 8 minutes remaining, we will see probably a very, very intense final few minutes, with times at least being challenged, if not beaten. Jakob Bidstrup does exactly that, 2nd in class, 4th overall, so he has moved up 2 positions.
Yep.
Michael Verhagen and Nobuhiro Imada, both of them having been usurped.
Good word. Usurped is a good word.
Stole it from the best.
In replay then, the number 40 car of Jakob Bidstrup. Back into the car. These 296 Challenge cars look awesome in super slow-mo, I have to say. Thanks, team. Sergio Paulet, Gilles Renman's top 2 Pirelli drivers, top 2 AM drivers, Herbert Guys and Jakob Bidstrup. Here is Max Mugelli then, who's currently P7 overall, P3 in class. He does not want 4 AM drivers ahead of him when it comes to the race and where he lines up on the grid, so he will be doing his level best to try and get up there and further his position on the grid. And here comes Michael Verhagen for Ferrari Warsaw, also trying to do the same and improve. At the moment, he would be on the third row of the grid. He'd be third in terms of the AM drivers. Michael, who was, he was a championship contender last year, Nico. Championship won by Hendrik Viol. And Hendrik committing to racing back in the Ferrari Challenge this year. Sadly couldn't make this weekend, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and I suspect what you're doing is watching this, Hendrik. So once again, belated congratulations to you, and we look forward to seeing you back out on track real soon. In the meantime, Michael Verhagen. Sector 1 was good, Sector 2 not quite where he wanted it to be, Nico. Back end just letting go a little bit on the exit of the final turn as he heads towards the timing screen now. Is it going to be an improvement from P3 in class? You bet your bottom dollar it is. It's P1 in class, Nico.
Yeah, like 22 1,000, so slim margins at this stage with 5 minutes 50 seconds. But at the end of the day, if that's how sticks towards the end of the session, doesn't matter if it's 1,000 or if it's 2 seconds, you are one position better higher up the order. Sergio Paul is in that enviable position, and I say enviable as if he had been gifted any of that. None of that is truth. He's again improving.
And dare I say, Nico, with our drivers out here qualifying, they're on wet weather tyres, obviously, and the Pirelli wet weather tyres very, very durable, Nico. Therefore, they can probably, where they might be thinking in terms of if they were out there on slicks, conserving some tyre, conserving some rubber. I think that is not necessarily the case with the wet weather tyres, particularly if they're thinking to themselves, you know what, it could be dry this afternoon, and therefore we're going to be running on slicks anyway, so we can muller the wet weather tyres and get everything out of them. As Jacob Bidstrup has just gone P1 in the AM drivers and P2 for Nobuhiro Imada, and Sergio Paulet 3/10 off improving again.
Yeah, he has set multiple top times and firmly in control. But Gilles Raman, just as I say that, with 4 minutes 30 seconds remaining, has fired out of pit lane. So he will get one fast lap, potentially two, depending on how he manages that. But I rather think it's going to be one more attempt, considering his outlap is not going to be at race pace or top qualifying pace. So it's going to be interesting. Nobuhiro Imada also with a good first sector. He's already second in class, but trying to move up the order. Max Mugelli has just vaulted him overall. As we said, that doesn't make a difference in terms of in class, but overall grid positions, it very much does. Nobuhiro Imada approaching the second sector line. That will inform us how he's doing in his attempt to move up. And yes, indeed, he is at least on par to challenging the Jacob Bidstrup time.
You're absolutely right to identify that. We continue to watch Nobuhiro Imada on an improvement trajectory here. He's P2 in Trofio Pirelli AM class at the moment. Can he vault to Jacob Bidstrup and go to P1? We're going to find out in just a few turns' time. We're live from the Le Castellet circuit here in the south of France as Gilles Renmans and Herbert Guys has just gone to the top of the Pirelli AM class, beating Jakob Bidstrup. There's Manuel Agostner looking on from the Ineco Reparto Corsa RAM team. And Nobuhiro Imada then with one turn to do. He's now got to beat a 2:16.757. I'm not sure he's going to do that, but I've been proven wrong so many times before. On this occasion I wasn't, but he did improve, Nico, and he's got to P2.
Indeed, Jacob Bidstrup, who was reigning supreme in the AMs just a few moments ago, finds himself in P3, so he will have to do something about that. Anders Bidstrup, his brother, who was toiling towards the end, he has vaulted a few places, has moved up into P9, so different trajectories for the time being. Gilles Renman gesturing a little bit as he's just started another... no, he's on the back straight, so just under a minute of lap time having elapsed. You can see the traffic in front of him, and possibly that was something that he was arguing about more with himself than anybody else, probably.
Yeah, I hope so.
So the first sector was a personal best. Let's see what the second puts him. Track limits have been adjudged for him, and maybe that was what he was discussing.
Gesticulating. Discussing. Quite right.
So no improvement for him. We've got still just under 90 seconds remaining on the clock. That means Gilles Renman will have another shot at this, and I predict he will have another go as well.
I think I would agree with that. It's probably best we don't listen in too closely.
No.
Here's the track limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's slam dunk, Nico.
It is not far, but it is a slam dunk. And as you said, I think it was in the Shell qualifying, there are cameras in specific spots which are critical, where you can take that slingshot and they will say you're either in or out, you know. Yeah. Because you sometimes have the argument, oh, it's only 3 centimeters, only 5 centimeters. Like, where do you have to draw the line somewhere? And if you say it's 5 centimeters more, then the difference is between 5 and 6 centimeters. You know, sometimes there has to be a clear-cut, understandable line, and it's very unfortunate if you are 3/10 quicker and you're 1 centimeter outside the white line. I think if there is one thing that Claudio Garovini and his team are, they are straightforward and transparent in terms of how they enforce the rules.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you, and you know, that was indisputable. Max Mugelli is improving, and Michael Verhagen has done 2 personal bests, Sector 1 and Sector 2. And Nobuhiro Amada has just gone 2nd overall. Great lap from Nobuhiro Amada, a 2:16.670, and it's only 9/10 down on Sergio Paula. Gilles Renman's P2 in class P3 overall. The session is over. Anyone that's still running on a hot lap, that lap can count, and that's the case for Max Mugelli, Nico, who rounds the final turn now. He's P3, and from where I know not, Giacomo Rinaldo has just gone fastest in Pirelli Am, Nico. Didn't see that coming, if I'm honest with you.
No, he was not very much to the front. Michael Verhagen, he's one who's still trying to move up the order. He's fairly down by his own standards.
He's not now.
That has changed.
P1 for Michael Verhagen, then for Ferrari Warsaw in class. That's P2 overall. In replay, this then, the number 33 car of Michael Verhagen. He's changed colours for this season, but his prowess certainly has not changed. So the order is Sergio Paula, best of the Pirelli drivers, ahead of Gilles Renman and Max Mugelli. The AM drivers, it's Michael Verhagen, Giacomo Rinaldo, and Nobuhiro Imada,
who is still out there, and he is still pushing, as you can see. So it's not all over in the Pirelli AMs. He might be the only one who still has a chance to do something. He's already P3 in class, P4 overall. Can he do something? It's gonna be a few more seconds until we know for sure. Dave's shaking his head slightly.
I'm not convinced, and no, but he was within 5/10 of doing something. He's P3 in class, P4 overall, so that means he's on the 2nd row of the grid, and it's certainly going to be a danger man from there. What an exciting qualifying again, Nico.
Yeah, and there is our pole setter, almost 8/10 to the good of everybody else. The next Pirelli driver, meanwhile, is only on row 3, so that means Sergio Paula in terms of his class. As Sergio Paula with a rare excursion outside the track limits there, has really pulled a fast one over everybody else in Pirelli, and dominant qualifying for him and Michael Verhagen needed a last lunge effort to make it P1 in class. Giacomo Rinaldi, we have to find out how he did that out of nowhere.
Where did that come from, Nico? Because I credit you more than me for being really, really on top of the data that we're fed. Darned if I saw that coming. Okay, confirmation of the classification. Sergio Paul then P1. Then it was Michael Verhagen, Giacomo Ronaldo, Nobuhiro Imada, Gilles Renmans, Herbert Guys, Max Mugelli, and Jacob Bidstrup. The first 4 rows of the grid. That's how those will line up. Ahead of Anders Bidstrup, Carl Runfeld, Danilo Del Favro, and Otto Blank. That the classification from qualifying for our Trofio Pirelli drivers in Europe. So there we have it, with the rain still coming down from Nico and from myself. Thank you for enjoying Trofio Pirelli Europe qualifying. Hello everyone, welcome to the Circuit Paul Ricard in France, which is where we start the Ferrari Challenge UK season for 2026. Yes, an away day for our UK drivers, many of whom are returning and some are new. Brilliant season in prospect. Here is the circuit then, Circuit Paul Ricard, and it's a real treat, and the European calendar is on screen for you when actually we ought to be talking about the UK calendar rather than the European one, but I can tell you that we start here in Le Castellet, then we'll be moving to Snetterton at the beginning of May, then at the end of the May it will be Silverstone, then in June we're in Alton Park, in July we'll go to Brands Hatch, and then in September we'll be at Donington Park. So apologies for the graphics, Nico, but luckily ingrained upon my memory are the UK circuits that we will be going to with the Ferrari Challenge, and always for a highlight for me is when we go to Brands Hatch and we race not only on the Indy circuit but also we are privileged because we are the Ferrari Challenge that we're allowed on the second day to use the Grand Prix circuit as well.
Yeah, and
sorry, I caught you mid-coffee.
It's always mid-coffee time when you're a Ferrari in particular. There is the Circuit Paul Ricard in all its glory. It doesn't have a lot of elevation change, in fairness, but it has a lot of configurations. We use the Formula 1 configuration, if you will. Very different sectors. As you can see, lots of straights with only chicanes intertwined, and then the final sector, and you're permanently on the steering. I mean, there is no rest at that point.
Here are our drivers then for Challenge UK this year. Gilbert Yates, Trofio Pirelli champion. Darren Howell, a Shell driver. Andrea Seminara, a Shell driver. Bradley Yates, son of Gilbert, will be racing. Joseph Dean, Ian Morris, Hussein Sert, welcome back Hussein. William Roster, Mike Dewhurst, the Shell champion, moving up to Pirelli for this year. Christopher Byton, Peter Hunter, big character, great driver. Sean Rand, John Turner, and we welcome a lady racer, Nico, Manuela Gosner, racing in the UK Challenge, and there she is, Manuela Gosner, Serna Giotto, because to the right-hand side of your picture, there is Giorgio, whom she married last year, and he happens to be boss of the team, and yeah, they clearly got on pretty well, so they got married. That's how it happens, Nico, isn't it? So
got on really well is a very romantic way of it. I mean, befitting of France, the land of romance and love.
I've really just ruined that, haven't I?
Yeah, getting along really well. Get back on the script. I don't know how to transition to Ferrari Challenge UK racing off of that, but anyway, great to see the drivers out there, and personally for me, being more involved in the UK Challenge than ever before this year is a great privilege to be for the very first time talking about these drivers in this championship. The
championship has evolved so well, and we have such a great bunch of drivers. And is a fantastic championship, and full of character, full of great racing, and full of really excellent camaraderie, Nico. Of course, when every driver gets out there on the track, it's all about wanting to be the best, and friends and all friendships are forgotten about because it becomes very competitive. But as soon as the checkered flag has come out, you know, it's awesome. Absolutely brilliant atmosphere. And if you're watching us from the UK, you've got to come to a UK round and see the Ferrari Challenge in action, because it is simply brilliant. And the drivers are all so friendly and approachable. There's no prima donnas out there. You can get up close and personal with the drivers and their cars, and they truly welcome that. And yeah, do please make a point of coming to see us if you will. So, the stories that we have to tell in the Ferrari Challenge from last year, we saw a glimpse of Bradley Yates, the Charleshurst driver, who contested the final round. Now, Bradley Yates is the son of Gilbert Yates, who is 2 in a row Trofio Pirelli champion in Ferrari Challenge UK. And Gilbert whether he invited Bradley along, and Bradley took out a car, and he was from the get-go very, very competitive, and I think he is going to perhaps take it to his dad this year. Nico, I was talking to them both yesterday, and I said, you know, family relationships, quite clearly, you know, is there any forgiveness out there on the track? And they both said not an inch of it. We're in this for ourselves. This is Mike Dewhurst. Now, Mike Dewhurst richly deserved his Shell Championship win last year. Of course, by winning the Shell Championship, he immediately then gets elevated to a Pirelli driver. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he's saying that it's going to be tough for me, Dave. It's going to be tough for me, but Mike is such a focused character, lovely man, very, very good driver, but knows that he's got to up his game still further to be competitive this year, and he will want to be competitive. You know, he drives for the Dick Lovett Swindon organisation and dealership, of whom I have many, many friends across the UK dealers network, as you would expect, Nico, being my resident country, and all of these drivers, they're so very well supported by their dealers and their families, and Mike Dewhurst is putting down a good lap here, and very soon we will see the meaningful times on our screen to see who's doing what from where. Mike Dewhurst deciding to go out early on, which potentially, Nico, with the weather conditions as changeable as they've been, might be a fairly sensible strategy here.
Yeah, for sure. It's not supposed to rain very much over the next few hours, or the next half hour, which is the most relevant for this session, of course. But there is always the chance, and you can see the clouds, they're low hanging over us, and what you really want to avoid is being caught out in terms of not having set a banker and then it starts to rain and the whole evolution of the track is undone or reversed.
Yeah.
So, as you say, all but one driver already out there. Mike Dewhurst approaching the line to set his first meaningful time, or the first time of anybody, actually, at 2:38.48. In fairness, that's not where we expect the times to be at the end of the session. There, in the forefront, was the last remaining driver who had not come out previously, and it is a driver we could talk about for quite some time.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. This is going to be such a fantastic season. Really, really looking forward to it. There's the Peter Hunter car. Peter here with his family. Leanne, his wife, and lovely children that Peter has. And, I just want to apologise because on the left-hand side of your screen you can see all the graphics there. The driver of the Charles Hurst car, number 66, his name is William Bolster, as opposed to William Bloster, as it's been put on the graphics. We will get that corrected. It's William Bolster. William's going to be a great addition to the Ferrari Challenge. And Gilbert Yates and Bradley Yates, no surprise, they've immediately gone P1 and P2, and there's a bit of a fight going on here between Joseph Dean and Peter Hunter. Now, Joseph Dean driving for Stratstone Colchester. Rob here from Stratstone Colchester this weekend. It was nice to see you yesterday, Rob. And Joseph Dean and his family are here this weekend. Lovely people from Essex, not far away from where I live. And Joseph Dean showed such great improvement last year. He's going to be a real driver to be reckoned with this year, I have no doubt. But currently it is Gilbert Yates, Bradley Yates, then it's Christopher Baton, Mike Dewhurst, William Bolster, Joseph Dean, Sean Rand, Peter Hunter, Ian Morris, Andrea Seminara, Darren Howell, John Turner, Hussein Certain, yet to set a time is Manuela Gosner. But these are all early stage times being set right now for the Ferrari Challenge UK qualifying, as Mike Dewhurst now goes second fastest with a 2:26.995. Still much improvement to come. Now this time from Joseph Dean is going to be a good one because he's done personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's P4 on the timing screen at the moment. Let's see if this is an improvement for Joe Dean. No, he lost time coming out of the final turn and the final sector. Gilbert Yates, Mike Dewhurst and Bradley Yates. Number 66 car, William Bolster then. The all-red car as Darren Howell from JCT 600 leads. A Shell driver goes second fastest and splits the Pirelli drivers. Well done, Darren Howell. Another driver that showed so much improvement last year. Hails from Lincolnshire in the UK. And Darren is going to be a force to be reckoned with, undoubtedly. He's one of the most well-supported drivers, Nico. His family, who are truly lovely, always there to support him. But Darren has now been relegated to P4 because Bradley Yates has once again gone to P2. It's still Gilbert that's P1, and the big question on everyone's lips is whether Manuela Gosner, who, of course, comes into the Ferrari Challenge UK, Nico, as Copa Shell European champion, which means she's a pretty racy lady.
She is an incredible, successful, quick, and equally likable driver. There is no question about that, but mostly she is just insanely quick and experienced. And as you say, she was Copa Shell champion in Europe, having taken many, many race wins before. That title was something very special for her, and you could really tell there is some liberty taken to the track limits, I dare say. So where will Manuela Gosner slot in with the UK Championship? Will she be at the sharp end in Pirelli, I add? Or will she struggle to get accustomed to it? Obviously, in terms of track knowledge, the Castellet is something that she has done multiple times in the Challenge Europe. I'm not sure if that applies in the same vein to all the UK tracks.
To be fair, Nico, that is one of the incentives for Manuela, who, in conversation with her yesterday, she said, do you know what? You know, part of the reason is I want to be at some of these iconic UK circuits. Clearly, she's driven Silverstone before, because the European series has been to Silverstone on a number of occasions, but she's Donington Park and Alton Park, you know, and here she is, Manuela Gosner now. Gilbert Yates P1. Now William Bolster from Charleshurst has gone to P2 ahead of Bradley Yates, so we've got a Shell driver P2 now, having split the two Yateses. But what's really interesting here, Nico, is that the top three drivers overall are all from the Northern Ireland dealer, Charleshurst.
Well, nothing wrong with the setup of those cars, you venture to say.
That dealership sat behind us at dinner last night.
Oh, they're amazing. I mean, just we might see them again, I hope. I mean, overall, and all kidding aside, great camaraderie, great people all across the paddock in the Ferrari Challenge UK and Europe. And Manuela Gosner, it is a very familiar paddock, but equally it isn't with the UK surroundings. First sector on her first, she's set a time before, but this is the first attempt of improving that.
Oh, somebody's gone around, Nico. I could just see at the, sorry for interrupting you, I could just see at the back of the picture there. No harm done, because here in Le Castellet, in the Paul Ricard circuit, there is acres and acres of runoff tarmac, isn't there?
That is one of the big advantages. It's not to every purist's liking.
Well, yes, you're right.
Prefer the more gravel beds of Imola, or...
We have plenty of them in the UK.
But certainly when it comes to getting away with something, an excursion onto the tarmac left and right of the actual circuit delineation, Le Castellet is fairly forgiving. Manuela Gosner not quite up to speed yet, almost 2 seconds off the pace for the moment. Giotto watching on as she rounds, and you can see it's not at 100% pace yet, but let's see if she
building
puts the throttle and the foot down to building for the next lap.
while also building Mike Dewhurst, who's been doing the same as he goes second fastest, and now immediately gets relegated by William Bolster, who has gone to P1 in the shell category. So it is Gilbert Yates who's fastest overall, and William Bolster has got within 5/10 of Gilbert Yates' time, so that's a brilliant showing. Now there is the Charles Hurst driver, Gilbert Yates, Nico, who's improving still further with purple sector 1, purple sector 2. His best time thus far, a 2:21.585. New colour scheme for Gilbert Yates for this season, into the technical part of the circuit, the third sector. And Gilbert Yates is an utterly formidable driver. So focused, absolutely. There are so many stories I could tell of what Gilbert Yates has achieved, and one qualifying session in particular springs to mind at Brands Hatch, where he had literally one lap to put a quali lap together, and he went out there and put a pole lap together, and once again is improved by 3 1/3 Nico, to a 2:21.241. So what happened at Brands Hatch is he made contact with another driver. It was a really innocuous thing. It was a driver coming out of the pit lane. It just happened. But that meant his car was marginally damaged. He had to come into the pit lane, and the entire qualifying session was spent putting the car right again. The team worked so hard. Gilbert was back in the car and literally made it back out on track with only one hot lap to be able to put. And he put the car in pole position. You know, he is a machine, in my opinion. Absolutely brilliant. Now, also showing his prowess here, I have to say, is Christopher Baton, the Grey Paul Nottingham driver. A very interesting orange livery across the 296 Challenge car for Grey Paul Nottingham. Sector 1, personal best. He's third fastest already in the shell category. So doing a very good job. He's done a personal best through Sector 2 as well. Now, if the driver's got a red strip across the top of the windscreen, it means they're a Pirelli driver. If it's a yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, it means they're a shell driver. And a shell driver, Nico, has just found 6/10 and gone and beaten Gilbert Yates. So the Charles Hurst driver, William Bolster, is P1. Where did that come from?
Yeah, great performance. We've seen already in the previous sessions how close the different categories and subcategories are in terms of performance, and we see just another proof of that. But Gilbert Yates is not letting that lying down. The Pirelli driver, he is looking to respond on the first two sectors, would indicate that respond he will with 7/10 quicker than the current pole time. Let's see where he ends up when he crosses the timing line. For the moment, Christopher Baton is trying to move up the order, and he sets a personal best, second in class for the time being, but there is Gilbert Yates.
So here comes Gilbert to cross the timing line now, and 2:22.16 is P1 for Gilbert Yates, P2 overall for William Bolster, but P1 in class. And Gilbert Yates then giving it everything he can, taking liberties with the curbs. He really does. I just feel that he and the 296 Challenge car together, Nico, they work so well together. They seem to have been almost molded as one. Such is what they're able to put together. So William Bolster, though, for Charles Hurst, he has certainly taken this qualifying session to Gilbert Yates. Mike Dewhurst is P3 overall. Manu Ghostler, great job shown by Manu to be P3 in class, P4 overall. Bradley Yates, Nico, has come into the pit lane. So drivers out of position at the moment, in my opinion, are the likes of Joseph Dean, Darren Howell, and Peter Hunter. Peter Hunter, who's one of the bigger characters, as Joseph Dean is down there. And Bradley Yates now being instructed there by Benny, his driver coach. Benny with the headphones off there, talking to Bradley Yates about where Bradley can perhaps improve. He's down to P5 overall, P4 in class. Here's Manu Ghostner. Is it going to be an improvement? stays P4 overall, P3 in terms of Trofio Pirelli. Now, Nico, I'm looking at this circuit. I want your advice here.
You want to know the tyre decision for the race in a few hours?
I'm looking at it now and just wondering if anyone would be prepared to take a gamble.
Dario Caso would, but he's unfortunately no longer in the Ferrari Challenge for quite a few years. But that brings back a lot of memories. I mean, you can see that the tires still kick up a little bit of spray, and this is one of the sequence. It's not that much, but obviously the amount of lap time you would lose at the beginning of the race is something that you would struggle to find towards the end. Potentially, it's going to be really a decision for the Copper Shell drivers in Europe later on.
Yeah, but of course the UK drivers will be the last running, won't they?
I would say unless there is another rain, there is another pour down of rain, I think the chances are that the UK drivers will put the slicks in the first row of tire choices and have the wets on standby. But I mean, they will have the luxury of having seen 2 European races on the track before them, so they will have a very good understanding. It's going to be much more critical for the Shell drivers in Europe, who will be the first ones out for a race later on, and that might be a little bit of a gut feeling for some drivers. And a gamble. Manuela Gostner, she would have been part of that grid last year. She now, as we said, in the UK Challenge, and she is improving. She's improving quite significantly. Half a second off the provisional pole time through 2 sectors, but that, if she can keep that together even remotely, would at least allow her to get up to P3 overall.
There is Giorgio Sonagiotto, husband to Manuela Gostner, team boss to Manuela Gostner. And here she comes then, rounding the final turn, Sector 1 and Sector 2, both PBs. The time she's looking for, a 2:22.16. As she breaks the timing beam, she goes to P2 with a 2:23.82. But Nico, there's just a tenth and a bit between P1 and P2 right now.
Absolutely, and especially the final sector, colored purple on our timing screen. That was especially quick, so it's going to be interesting. Will she go again? Will she be able to keep that momentum going? Because that could then challenge the time set by this driver, who is, thank you very much on cue, leaving his stationary position and going out for another attempt.
Yes, Gilbert Yates with a 2:22.16. There are only 3 drivers in the 2:20s. Gilbert Yates, Manu Gostner and William Bolster. Mike Dewhurst is third fastest in Trofio Pirelli. I'll remind you, he's elevated to Trofio Pirelli, having won the Copper Shell Championship last year. Deservedly so. Darren Howell is second fastest in the Shell drivers. And then third fastest in the Shell drivers is Ian Morris from Maranello Sales. So all the drivers doing a good job here. And there are a number of drivers, Nico, as I said earlier on, that I consider to be out of position in qualifying. And we will see if that changes over the next 8.5 minutes. With a lap time of 2:20 at best, we are running out of time now. So for the likes of Baton, Hussein Certain, Sean Ran, who are in the pit lane, they need to be getting out on track pretty soon, I would say, if they're going to have another go.
Absolutely. We saw some drivers in the last qualifying session in Europe to come out with less than 5 minutes remaining and setting meaningful lap times towards the end. So it's definitely not all over yet for those drivers who are still in the pit lane. But as you say, if you want to have multiple bites at the cherry, then now is about the time that you would have penciled in your session progression, which rhymes very nicely.
Very nice use of His Majesty's English.
But Manuela Gostner, she's done the opposite and has come into the pits. As we see Bradley Yates now with a purple second sector.
Game on, come on. We're loving this, the Ferrari Challenge UK for 2026. The father-son combo of Gilbert Yates and Bradley Yates, where there is no quarter given or taken from either of them. And right now, Bradley Yates bearing in mind, Nico, to the best of my knowledge, only raced in one challenge event towards the end of last year. Now, he'd done some club challenge, to be fair to him, but he hit the ground running certainly last year, and he's right behind his dad. Right, so Gilbert, who's on an outlap now, will cross the timing line. That won't change his time, but Bradley Yates, who is currently P4, as he breaks the timing beam, he goes from P4 to P1. The son is beating the dad at the moment.
Yeah, and it's more than a second. Now remember, Gilbert Yates set his time quite a few minutes ago,
yes.
So the track will have evolved, but with 6.5 minutes remaining, that means the clutch performance that you described is something that's potentially needed again.
They're into the Darren Howell garage. I said that he's always very, very well supported. His family in the garage watching on, and Darren is second fastest in the shell category, 6th overall. He's in the pit lane. He'll be coming out again, or will he, with just 6 minutes remaining? It's touch and go whether there would be any benefit. His driver coach, Sean Doyle, will advise him as best. And what a battle we've got between the two Yateses now, with Bradley P1, Gilbert P2, Manu Gosner back out again. William Bolston, Mike Dewhurst. I'll tell you what, this is going to be such a fascinating weekend. And Darren Howell has gone out again. Sean Doyle metaphorically kicking his bottom, saying, come on, we know we've got more in there. P2 at the moment in class. Can he take P1 in class? What is going to happen in this father-son combo battle, though, Nico, with 5 minutes remaining? What a brilliant qualifying session. They are swapping personal and overall best between the two of them.
Indeed, Gilbert Yates, as you can see, coming up on traffic, that might just hamper his efforts.
And he gets a track limit.
And that has done it for this lap, still just under 5 minutes. Everybody's out on the track. That means, as we just saw, traffic is an issue and needs to be factored in. This is really exciting towards the very end. Had some great qualifying sessions already, and Gilbert Yates slicing through the other cars. Not to do anything this lap, that's done. But to set himself up with empty track in front of him, that's what he has done and he has achieved. So, the race is on.
Oh, this is going to be something that rages all season long, I hope. A fantastic inter-family battle between the two of them. This is where Gilbert lost out on the track limits, Nico.
Yeah, indeed. We saw that very same shot a little bit earlier, and same conclusion there. Gilbert Yates out with a vengeance. Bradley lifted just before the timing line, so I don't think he's gonna do something about his current lap time.
That's an interesting choice of headwear there. Right, now Bradley Yates is easing up to buy himself track time, to buy himself tarmac ahead of him, I think.
Absolutely, and Gilbert Yates is trying to make the most of his opportunity. First sector, well, how about 8 tenths to the good?
8 tenths!
748 1/1000 to be very exact, but he's approaching the chicane on the back straight. Love this shot, and this is one of those places where the iconic painting here at Le Castellet really comes into its own, and Gilbert Yates has come into his own long ago, but he is trying to do the same in the second sector. Lost half a second, however, as Mike Dewhurst has vaulted him, actually, and relegated him to P3.
This is super. Oh, I'm so looking forward to this season, really. I've been anticipating this. The Ferrari Challenge UK has been such a huge success, and Gilbert Yates there taking liberties wherever he can to try and find just a centimetre, Nico, of tarmac. He is determined with a capital determine.
Very good, sir. Let's see where he can up. There are still patches where it's really, really wet, and he kicks up the spray, which looks great. It's not necessarily how you want to have it for maximum grip, but Gilbert Yates, where are we? 2:19, 1:04, 2:10. He's still got 9 seconds or so. I think that's possible, but that's gonna be tight anyway. 16, 17, 18. Will it be a 19? It will, and it's he has moved back up into second, but Bradley Yates.
He won't be happy with that.
But this is his final chance. The clock's under 2 minutes, so he's got one more attempt at this.
Okay, so Gilbert Yates then with a 2:19.422 is P2. P1 is his son, Bradley Yates, with a 2:19.104. In the meantime, there's a lot happening behind because Manuel Agosta has gone to P3, Mike Dewhurst has gone to P4. And in terms of our Shell drivers, it's now Bolster, Morris, Byton, Howell, Ran, Seminara. So the all-orange colours of the 81 car here of Christopher Byton that we're watching right now with a personal best in Sector 1, Nico. Third fastest at the moment in Copa-Shell. Is this going to be an improvement? Continuing that trajectory because a 10th up, another personal best in Sector 2. Is it going to be enough to be able to vault Ian Morris and possibly William Bolster? Just about a minute or so we will find out for sure. Now the third sector here at the Paul Ricard circuit is the very, very technical sector with lots of turns involved as well. Car 22, his last lap time has been deleted, so that's Ian Morris from Maranello Sales losing his last lap time. Currently third fastest in the Shell drivers. And Gilbert Yates, his sector time, Sector 1 was not so good, Sector 2 was better, Nico.
Yeah, we've got purple times for Dewhurst, for Yates, both of them actually. And Manu Gosser is only 12 1,000ths off that pace. So, checkered flag not quite out, so Bayton will have another one if he needs it, but he makes this one count. P1 in class, P5 overall, but it's the battle in the Pirellis which is really raging right now.
Okay, so as we continue to watch on then, Ian Morris, he rounds the final turn. He's currently P4 in class. And here comes Gilbert Yates then, desperate for that P1. Crosses the timing line, doesn't get it. He's 6 100ths down, Nico.
Oh, and he would have loved that so much, but Bradley Yates, he stays in P1, but he can't feel too sure about that. There are more challenges, but he would like
improve.
He could improve. Will he improve? He will improve.
Whoa, a 2:18.806 from Bradley Yates. The young whippersnapper has done it, Nico.
Wow, and let's not lose sight. Who's still out there? Bayton is still out there.
So's Mike Dewhurst.
We're not quite into wrap-up mode yet. Mike Dewhurst is still out. I'm not sure if he can really get on terms with the front row. Christopher Bayton currently P1 in the Shell already, but he might still leapfrog a few Pirelli drivers for track position. So that's going to be interesting. Mike Dewhurst does it indeed. Goes to P2 overall.
Well done, Mike Dewhurst. And that's relegated Gilbert Yates, Nico, to the second row, third place in terms of qualifying. I'm going to be happy about that.
And Darren Howell, you said it, he came out of the pits very late, but they timed it perfectly for him to be one of the last who will cross the timing line, and for the moment...
And look, he's gone to P2, Nico. So Darren Howell has gone to P2 in the Shell class. Well done, Darren. Well done to his driver coach, Sean Doyle, because he was in the pit lane, wasn't he? And he timed that, in my opinion, to perfection. And there is the 78 car of Mike Dewhurst that you can see. Mike splitting the two Yates' son and dad. What a brilliant qualifying session from our Ferrari Challenge UK drivers. If that's a taster of the season to come, bring it on.
Yeah, amazing, and immense discipline also. No awesome. Excursions, nothing.
There's Darren Howell. JCT 600 leads. There'll be some celebrations up there.
It's not time for celebrations.
Well,
for the qualifying yet, but they will focus on the race. But that was, I mean, I think that's when you come back as a driver and you say, guys, we did that. We did it together as a team. We got that result together, and that must be a great feeling. You think Bradley Yates is feeling okay?
Gilbert will be livid. He'll be livid. I mean, he'll be thrilled for his son, but he'll still be livid. And when I spoke to them yesterday, there was no question about the competitive nature of both of them. If anything, Bradley kind of underplayed where he thought he could be. Little devil. Little devil. Right, let's get confirmation of the results then from qualifying from the Ferrari Challenge UK. And there is Benny, driver coach there. And you can see the excitement. It was Gilbert's brother, Joe, that was wearing the odd hat. I'm going to have the pleasure, Nico, because I present the Ferrari Challenge UK series. I'm going to have the pleasure of being down there on the grid with Sanella alongside me, who's going to join me. And we're going to be talking about the race to come for the Ferrari Challenge UK a little bit later on this afternoon. So looking forward to that. Here's confirmation of the classification. Bradley Yates, P1, pole position. Mike Dewhurst, P2. Gilbert Yates, P3. Manuela Gosner, P4. Best of the Shell drivers, Christopher Baton. Then Darren Howell, Ian Morris, and William Bolster. Ahead of Joseph Dean, Sean Rann, Andrea Seminara, Peter Hunter. Out of position, Hussein Sert, and John Turner. That's the way the first Ferrari Challenge UK grid will line up this afternoon here at Paul Ricard and Le Castellet. And there is Bradley being congratulated. Benny there, these driver coaches, all smiles as well. There we have it from Nico and from myself for Ferrari Challenge UK. Sanella and I will see you on the grid a little bit later today. Bye-bye for now.